Week 8 of the FF1600 schedule dawns, and I say we're at an all-time classic for iRacing and for this car. It's been done in many formats before, but this week we're taking it the whole way around. This is Virginia International Raceway. As ever in the booth, I'm Howie Burrows, and I'm joined by Ron Malms for this spectacular race down the long straights of Virginia.
Going to be running around the crazy train here today, Howie. I'm expecting some fun around this old school American racetrack. Opened many moons ago, but the current opening of this track was only back in the year 2000, and I'll touch on that a little bit later on in this show. For now, though, we take a look at this track, a part of an amazing schedule that we have here for the FF1600s here in Season 3 of 2025, and looking at the weeks that lie ahead, the final 4 rounds of this championship. Bathurst in 1 week's time, Sonoma on that road course there in wine country, Ultra-Slapen and Donington to bring this season to a close. But here at VIR, this is going to be a draft fest at a track that, as you allude to in that track graphic, Howie, one that iRacing has no idea how to number. 17 turns around this track, many of which also have a letter right behind them. If you count all the turns, I would say we're probably closer to about 24, 25 than we are to 17, but this track is a behemoth. It is super fun, and that massively long back straightaway going to play a huge role in deciding who's going to try and grab yet another checkered flag from what has been a brilliant season up to this point.
Next week, we start to see drop weeks, but for now, here's a standing of how things look. Rens Brookman has been consistent and has been here for many weeks. Our number 1 car on the track again, with a good margin to his name, and some bad races to drop down the other side. Keep an eye out for Jordan Gronkowski as well. He's on the track. A few drivers are here and are not the typical. We're missing Kieran Shanks, Christopher Cash, Matt Kendall, and Andrea Bellotti. But we do have the return of Fraser Smith this week in the 4 car. We don't quite have the combinations cooked up to roast the beef hot, but we have all the classics here on the grid.
Yeah, a little bit surprised that we aren't seeing Kieran Shanks run in this race. Doubly so considering that last week at Long Beach and that rather wacky race that was there 1 week ago here at Maconi Entertainment, we saw Shanks do something that nobody else has done up to this point here in the strength of field races here in Season 3 of 2025, and that is start from the pole and win the race. The first driver in these broadcasted events to do that thus far this season was Kieran Shanks. Let's see, as we are into the second half of the season, if anyone else will potentially be able to join Shanks in that regard. Let's see how things are going to work out here. I don't think it's going to come today, though, Howie. This track, super unpredictable. I mean, even discounting this massively long back straightaway heading off into the roller coaster section of turn number 14, and also including that start-finish straightaway into turn number 1 for that matter, this is one of those tracks with old school runoff area. You basically have a racetrack, a painted white line, a curb, grass, and then about 500 feet later, you have yourself a rather solid wall.
They certainly did just bring out some construction equipment and tell them to make a track. Ian Joyner first to set a lap, and it's under 2 minutes. Laps are around here usually in the 2-minute mark, so everyone's just about going to have the time now to run. To a few drivers as well that we've never seen on the track, though. Michael Billy just resetting the car in the old Renault design. Therese Kunche, I hope that's the closest I'm going to get today, alongside Baptiste Ronemont in the Lightning McQueen 95. Rens Brookman's first lap was indeed. Rens Brookman's first lap well off the pace of 2 minutes 04 and not even legal. Gronkowski also not setting a legal time on the first go around. He won a few races in a row, but it's been a bit of a drop-off ever since.
Yeah, so let's see if Brookman will be able to come back to form here in this race today, as we're still in the midst of qualifying. Ian Joyner, the Brit behind the wheel, the number 3 machine, your top qualifier as it stands right now. Fraser Smith currently joining Joyner on that front row. As you can see him heading his way off through Oak Tree. Oak Tree, I don't know why I developed the British accent, Rose. I said Oak. Oak Tree, though, that turn no longer living up to its name, as unfortunately, I think back in 2015, the Oak Tree itself got struck by lightning, so it is now just just a turn, and a very important turn to try and nail down, especially at the end of this race. This track is a tough one. It's been a formidable force in American sports car racing for many, many moons. The facility originally opened back in 1957, but was actually shuttered down back in 1974, and from there all the way up to the year 2000, the track remained abandoned. There's a video on the VIR YouTube channel, the Virginia International Raceway's YouTube channel, where they show a video from 1997 and them driving around this track and the ruined remains of it before the renovations really started, back when this property was basically just a massive chicken farm with a giant ring road that looks sort of like a racetrack. This is one of those tracks that has such a good story behind it, abandoned for over 26 years, comes back to form, and it is the site of some fantastic racing every single year. Expecting that here today is Fraser Smith going to jump up to the pole.
Fraser Smith up fast is Gronkowski, only 5th so far. Jake Williams looks to be the next across the line. Frederick Surley and Lewinsky will match about the line crossing time. Surley jumps up to 11th. Jake Williams up into P2 in the McLaren design. Renz Brookman, one of the latest drivers to get out on the track, so we're going to keep an eye on him as he chases down this lead in a 4.1k SOF race.
Yeah, we've had some giant fields thus far this season. Had 4 splits heading into this. A lot of drivers showing up to the track. Part of free content, so it's definitely understandable as to why that is the case, but you still love to see it. Looking at Renz Brookman as he heads his way down into the roller coaster. Probably the ideal overtaking opportunity, especially at the end of this race, Howie, but that can end disastrously. Yesterday, when I was covering the Weekend Warriors, we saw some moments heading down into there. I remember one time doing a GT4 broadcast around here. I saw the front two get taken out by a lap car in P3, just blew their doors off and tried to grab the victory and did so successfully. That final turn may be, the turn at the end of the back straightaway may be a bit of a trouble spot for these racers as Renz Brookman comes across the line, jumps up to second. Not enough to usurp Fraser Smith, though, for the pole.
Next to come around, Graham Rory Hunt. There are 20 entries and only 9 were able to set legal laps on both attempts. The session runs out of time. In time for any more, I promise we do have a much bigger grid than you've seen on the track today, but not many are able to keep it between the white lines going around, so that's unusual. Let's see if we can do a really quick run through of this grid on maximum velocity. Fraser Smith up in P1, Renz Brookman in 2, Jake Williams in 3rd, and Ian Joyner in 4th. Adam Medmer starts 5th ahead of next to David Lewinsky. Look at Patrick Starr on that car. George Gronkowski in 7th, and Mikey Pollard in 8th. Mario Russ in 9th, and Alexander Istad 10th.
And then looking outside the top 10, the list of these racers continues on with Frederick Surley and Nico Grober starting this race on your 6th row. Daniel Tufts and Dima Sirkin starting this race in P13 and P14. Looking right behind them on your 8th row, it will be Graham Roy Hunt alongside Baptiste Romanet in that number 19 machine, as Teres Kuntz starting this race in P number 17 alongside Dan Blake starting this race in 18th. Rounding out your top 20 will be Dan Wilmot and Michael Billy in that number 18 machine. And I believe that will round out our starters for this race, Howie. We got that standing start in the run down into turn number 1. That is going to be a terrifying stretch of racetrack for these racers. Probably the most terrifying run off into turn number 1 that we have from the entirety of this season. Yes, even including Long Beach last week.
You're not going to get many shots at it. 11 laps around this 2-minute long circuit. Estimated that could even jump up or down. I need you to kill the music because our drivers are literally about to get going on the road right now. All are gridded. 20 through Virginia. Let's go. It's a pretty good launch from Renz Brookman on that front row. It's a bit of a stack up behind. Jake Williams holding up drivers on the right-hand side of the track. Fraser Smith's going to hold that line confidently in first. Renz Brookman slots behind. Lots of moving and a little bit too wide with Jordan Gronkowski on the outside of turn 1. Tons of space, but these first few corners can come at you very, very misleadingly. It's looking clean and good for now. Bit more movement further back, I noticed, right next to one or two of the Patrick Stars and the Alexander Istads. That's a big move from Nico Gruber up on the inside. Daniel Tufts sort of stuck in the middle of it, as well as Frederick Surly. They're going to go too wide up these S's, and this track's us become high speed right now.
Yeah, now as they head their way out of the snake up into the uphill Hesses here in just a couple of moments' time. Looking at those front three, Fraser Smith still leading over Renz Brookman, over Jake Williams. Close quarter stuff as they head their way down here into turn number 10. That is South Bend. Things for you in this race can really go south if you lose it through that corner. You can see some drivers getting a little bit sideways, running off into the grass. That grass is dead for a good reason. Gets run over quite a lot as we head our way out of Oak Tree onto this back straightaway. That's turn number 12. Roller coaster coming up is turn number 14. Yes, they skipped down turn 13 around this track. I do not know why, but as we see them heading their way on the back straightaway, now we start to worry about that drafting game of leapfrog as they're going to go 3 wide at the front.
Lap 1, and we already want to go 3 wide. How you brake going into roller coaster is going to be treacherous and dangerous. Jake Williams leads the row right now. A lot of bravery. He was the one to send it the furthest, and it's going to work for him. A correction to all those at home. A lot more legal laps were set. What happened was I set my timing tower to only show 9 cars after plenty got eliminated during Racers Elite last week. So had to fix that, put the WD-40 on it, and we're all good and have the whole pack down here again. And on the topic of the pack, comes flying with the draft, but a run through the grass is going to slow him up. Jake Williams takes contact, and they would have run 3 wide through turn 1. Admetma somehow has kept that together.
Oh no! Tons of blows coming out of the turn. That right there was a huge moment for the number 8 machine of Alexander Istad. I think Jordan Gronkowski also got a piece of that drama as well. That's another racer going off the track. I think that may be Istad. Lots of racers really struggling through there. There's Istad as he headed his way down into turn number 3. I gotta say, that send there to jump up into P3 for Admetma, running off into the dirt, heading down into turn number 1. That may be some of the most bold and audacious stuff I've seen thus far this season in a series where these racers constantly throw haymakers at each other. Seeing moves like that, moves of aggression like that. They went 3 wide down the backstretch into turn number 14, and then they nearly ended up going 4 wide into turn 1. These racers are really running at the limit of control, the limit of sanity as well. This is one of those tracks that a lot of VIR racers have plenty of experience running at, but on a track that they're familiar with, sometimes overconfidence can be a real bugbear.
Going to be a lot of replays to catch at the end of this race, but for now, this straight is going to be a moment of interest for everybody. Admetma tries again to make a huge move, but is blocked off in time. David Lewinsky, first time I've seen him on the track, has joined the party, makes the top 3. We have 5 running up at the front.
Look at that pack of cars as they had their way through into Hog Pen. There's a final real corner around this track, turn number 17. Keep that momentum rolling as you head your way down the hill, up the hill, then back down the hill. This track tucked in the Appalachian Mountains of Virginia has a lot of elevation change to give to these racers and a lot of flat out blasts too, side by side with Williams and Brookman as we head our way down that start-finish stretch off into turn number 1. Will Williams hold it off? Will Brookman get a run on the inside, side by side as they head their way through turn number 1? Nearly making contact as well. If you go off into the grass on the high side there, you're just going to fall off the face of the earth. It's like a cliffside if you run off through there. So you can understand why they kept it really tight, but still hair-raising stuff as they finally single file out, coming out of 3 into 4 of left hook.
Mikey Pollard's made his way onto the back of this queue. Daniel Tufts far off, leading the next 3. Somehow Jordan Gronkowski got away with that sideways snap, and he's sitting in P9 and could be in position. We have meatball flags for Alexander Istad, who appears not to have served yet. He is going to need to do that for the end of the race. And Mario Ross, who's sitting in the pit lane, having not even turned the fast repair on. Still loads of movement down his Diva Circuit, leading Michael Billy and Baptiste Roman. Fraser Smith leads Dan Blake, Therese Kunz, Frederick Surly, and Alexander Istad. Dan Wilmont and Graham Rory Hunt sit near the back. Every lap we're going to have to keep another eye on this back straight, though, not just for this battle, but for the one behind. I think someone might end up in the hospital after this one. 2 Patrick Stars in 2 groups. This Patrick Star, the 13 of David Lewinsky, takes the left-hand side and is faster than that right hand with Jake Williams, who's going to hold him to that line and outbrake over the top of the roller coaster.
You know, we saw there from David Walensky not really pushing the limit too much, heading down the backstretch off into turn number 14. I'm not sure whether or not the driver of the number 13 machine has been living under a rock or what, but we saw those races go 3 wide through there right at the end of lap number 1. I have a feeling we'll see a whole lot more of that between now and the checker flag. You said it right there, Howie. Probably got to see one driver end up in the hospital. We may need to read out an on-air eulogy at the end of this race as we look at the racing heading down into the turn, and that's Williams going for a spin.
And that's not how that wanted to end. I didn't quite see it coming that way. He did keep it up in one piece. We'll get an instant replay of this. Please give me a better angle. No, we better not get blocked by trees. I think this might have just been not quite being ready for the braking zone. There's already a bit of a slippage before there was contact there with Lewinsky.
Yeah, unfortunately, I thought it was just a bad rear lock from Williams heading off in there, but it is not the case, as there's a moment from the number 18 machine heading off through the turn. That's into turn number 3.
Michael Billy looks like you might have had a bit of a slide and a bit of a spin. Istad still setting laps. Depending on iRacing law, you get between 3 and 5 laps based on how you count them, but there's plenty more laps that are going to get him disqualified. So I think we might see him jump into the pit lane after this lap, or maybe he just wants to run with the pack for now, or maybe I'm being lied to this whole time. This time, Brookman takes a very, very early move to assert himself on the right. Now ducks back to the left. Medmer alongside. Joyner has just slowly snuck his way up in the highlighter car with the weenus on the side. I never forget it. Wants to send it 3 wide. Not quite the pace. Brookman's held both off very effectively this time, and this time it's the outside of the roller coaster that's got a good run coming down.
Yeah, nice move there from Ian Joyner to wiggle the Weenus Motorsports car up into P number 2. That may be the most disgusting and terrible visual image that I've ever given on one of these shows, so I'll swiftly and abruptly move on and say that Ian Joyner, a very fast driver behind the wheel of these FF1600 machines, and let's see if he's going to try and muscle past Renz Brookman side by side into the braking zone of turn number 1. Joyner looking to get another move done around the outside, but he's playing with fire. Has to walk around on eggshells heading through on the outside of turn number 1, go off the track, and you're going to be done for it. You carry too little speed heading all through there, and you're going to lose out on P3 to end Medmo. Remaining in second for now is Joyner side by side behind. That's involving Daniel Tufts, who's gone off to a rather good start in this race. He won the Weekend Warriors race yesterday. As we look at a move from him, that's a battle for P7 right now, and he gets it done.
Nico Gruber held off heading up the S's, which is sure not a place that you'd really like to pass. I have seen some crazy stuff, but none of these drivers quite crazy enough. But is this going to be another race sort of defined by whether you're in second at the right time? I'm not convinced this time, because it's not completely inevitable that you lose the lead going down that straight if you hold off well. Obviously, no one likes an outrageous block, but even with all that pace, we saw Brookman intelligently hold off the drivers, and he's going to give it another shot this time. The 5 and the 13 are going to be in close combat, but they're dropping off the back of this top 3 for this run down the back straight. Renz is going to choose the left. Joyner's going to take the space alongside. Oh, and Medved, there was space for 3 for a second. Chose not to take it. Brookman's going to slot into second, covering him off. Very close driving between this top 3. It would only take an unfortunate accident, I think, to disrupt what we see here. But it's still looking pretty good. And even Jake R. Williams off the back of this pack, but not miles off. He could be a contender by the end.
Yeah, so still trying to make up to the front of the field after that moment. Heading down into turn number 1. The drift is so strong around this racetrack. I don't have the exact measurements of how long that back straightaway is here at VIR, but it's long enough whereby that game of leapfrog is going to be prevalent. Same can be said about this start-finish flat-out blast as they head out of turn number 17 of Hogpen down to the braking zone at 1. You are flat, and you can really try and get some moves done as side-by-side with Brookman and Joyner heading off through turn number 2 right now into 3 of NASCAR Bend, a very interestingly named turn based off the fact that NASCAR has never raced here. I think the first time a NASCAR Cup car ever ran around this track was Juan Pablo Montoya testing for 2311 a couple of years ago in a next-gen car. So not sure why they called turn number 3 NASCAR Bend, but hey, I'm not a physicist.
IMSA's coming here later this season in iRacing. I mean, try to pass a GT3 anywhere, but that back straight is going to be, quite frankly, nauseating. Can't wait. Over the halfway mark now, we're anticipating 6 laps to go, and this pack at the front are playing their strategy game well. I'm noticing Mikey Pollard isn't really sticking with the rest as it stands, still within distance to become a part of it, but drops back in those S's every single time. Open setup race, seems like most drivers are running that tall gear stack to get maximum speed down the straight, but there are some variations in the way you can make the car handle. Ian Joyner up the inside, alongside, going to clear by the time we make it down the straight, and Ad Medma wants to be a part of this as well. How brave is Brookman going to break? Brave enough to keep him in P2. I think he knows the strategy game to be played. Tufts leads Gronkowski and Gruber, who have been playing this same game back here, but they've lost a lot of time. They were 2 seconds back. Now it's 3.7. So this is a reliable points haul to take home for Tufts, but it's not destination for a win.
Yeah, it's certainly not a destination for a checkered flag for Daniel Tufts in this race. Just hold on to that result, and you could be good when it comes to the points haul leaving this race. Side by side at the front, that's Brookman looking around the outside of Ian Joyner to retake the race lead. It's a 2x2 pack. Heading off through there is looking Mikey Pollard trying to make something work there as well in the number 5 machine. He's close. Alexander Estad, I think he just picked himself up a disqualification. You can see that little Bink DQ right next to him. We're not talking about the place that sells a Blizzard. Big moment for him heading down into turn number 8. I'm not sure if that joke stuck with you, Howie, but it did with any of the Americans tuning into the show.
I figure it was easy non-salt, non-clearing of the meatball flag. Estad wanted to run with the pack rather than lose it, and he's run out of laps to properly serve. I've heard disagreement on the mic from Daniel Tufts. He is of the feeling that he wants to catch this pack and work together because time is running out for them to do it, but they are battling, and they're still hemorrhaging time throughout the track. 4.2 seconds now. It's between this group at the top, and really it's going to be a matter of circumstance. Jake Williams, big send to make it back up to the top pack. He wants to be a part of this chase as we run down the backstretch one more time. Gonna have to see how Renz Brookman takes this. He's used to being in the lead down the straight. Now he has to play the secondary game. The run hasn't quite materialized until quite late, where suddenly it comes through and we're sending it free wide again. Medman not even gonna back out. Joyner's gonna be forced out, and I'm seeing Jake Williams on the back of this and thinking this is a game he's gonna force himself into now.
You know, these top 4 that we've got in this race, the top 5 for that matter, yet to grab a victory in one of these top split broadcasts here on Maconi Entertainment. Brookman has been able to grab 3 pole positions, those coming back to back to back at Summit Point, Watkins Glen, and Road Atlanta. Some very draft heavy racetracks, but the drama that went on in those races didn't really work out in his favor. Didn't start from the pole here today. Let's see if he'll be able to get the job done here as side by side with himself and Medma down to turn number 1. A bit of a wiggle there off the curb from Brookman, not going to help out Ed Medman in the 2 machine at all, as side by side between himself and Joyner heading through into 2, through to 3 right now. And also look at Jake Williams and Mikey Pollard right there to pounce as well. This top 6 pack that we've got on screen right now, chock full of racers looking to try and prove themselves as we get to the end of this official season here, Howie.
This pack at the front has massively compressed. Brookman just got an awesome run out of the first few corners. It's going to give him a half-second lead. I bet by the end of the S's, they're all going to be over his gearbox again. But behind, now Pollard's in. Now Lewinsky's in. Tufts ain't quite, but he's the only one just off the back. That is a lapped car behind the drivers, by the way. That is the 11 car of Mario Rass, who decided to serve those pit lap rules repairs the slow way. But he might enjoy some of this draft off the back. A little bit more drama between Circa and Fraser Smith. And I'm hearing controversy, and they both just ate a DQ for this for the post-contact afterwards. Let's take a look, and he described that as a brake check on the mic. I'm not really sure how those two cars came to blows. DQ was then incoming when he comes up and tries to get out of the way, and that's the final contact for the two. I mean, that's very confusing.
Yeah, that's a very odd series of events. Looked like a mix of the red mist and the iRacing glue playing a role in all that. Let's take a look at this. We'll say, as a result of this moment from Fraser Smith, will continue on with only one driver thus far in these top split broadcasts to convert a pole position into a victory. Wasn't looking that way for Fraser Smith. Certainly will not be as a result of all that. Trying to chase that draft, heading down into the turn. Up through that small low flat out blast, under the bridge right before the S's that start with turn number 7. You can't really go for a move like that comfortably, so you sometimes see those racers decide to do a little bit of the shimmy sham, trying to block off their challenges, as that's Joyner with a one-way trip off the track, and I think he got a little bit of the wall there as well. Will be a bit of a bridge between the back of this pack, which is now going to be Pollard, and that car of Tufts running a little bit farther up the road. I think there may have been some assistance here, though.
Keep an eye on this. It's self-inflicted.
Oh, he assisted himself, yeah.
It was a tough little move there, but these cars can break traction more remarkably easier than you think if you push them too hard into a bend, and I think he got a little bit spooked from Medma on the outside here. Sends it, rear end's going. The snap correction, it's out of the wall. But we're really running out of time now in order to make your chase, and look at what's happened to the pack. Brookman and Medma, big gap up front behind David Williams. He's got a lot of time to make up in only 2.5 laps. This could become a duel of fates.
Oh, is there dueling yet again, heading down the backstretch into turn 14. Backing out of it is Medma. Two racers yet to go into victory lane during these broadcasted races thus far, as they blow apart behind. That's Williams going off the track, and I think he was joined by Mikey Pollard, who's taking a one-way trip off the circuit as well. I was expecting this drama heading down into turn number 14, a heavy braking zone, a good spot to try and get some moves done, but can also end in total disaster, as we see heading down in there. May have been 3 cars since one, no contact being made. That was just big misjudgment there from Pollard.
That is a tough one, because every driver here so far has kept it together perfectly. But it was going to take one person getting this a little bit wrong, and that is one person not slowing as much as the other one expects. Low down of the field here as we approach 2 to go. Up front, we're trading places between Brookman and Medma. Don't need to show every single pass, because you can tell how they're going down. Behind, David Lewinsky and Ian Joyner with big gaps. Jake Williams then lead the pack ahead of Daniel Tufts, Grunkowski and Gruber. They're going to play the multi-car shakedown down the back straight. Graham Rory Hunter, Templey, Surly and Batista Romant for another train of 3, but with 2 to go, there's only 2 more chances to make this draft your absolute dream.
Yeah, so not a lot of time left to go for these racers, as much as this is a draft-heavy track, and there are some overtaking opportunities left to go. You only have a couple at the end of this race. If you go for it heading down into turn number 1 on that white flag lap, you're just going to leapfrog yet again. I don't really like this move from Medma, if I'm being honest. Maybe a little bit too early. Let's see, side by side, Brookman going to happily tow back into the draft. Maybe think about going for it yet again down to turn number 14. Yes, he will side by side down to the braking zone. They're gonna go. Brookman and Medma giving us a nice little battle to talk about in case they end in disaster. You look at that number 13 car, that Patrick Starr liveried machine of Lewinsky right behind. He would be there to pick up the pieces. Joyner would be there to battle. However, I think Joyner ran a little bit wide heading down into turn number 14 there, so it looks like it'll just be these two battling for the win. Are they coming to the checkered here, Howie?
I got my laps calculation completely wrong. I did get my laps calculation completely wrong. Never trust the overlays in their game. This is why you use the timer. That's actually me getting very, very enthusiastic. It's been about 2 seasons since I've done that, by the way. Been about 2. Renz Brookman holding off for a P1. Shall we have another look at that one and pretend as if it's actually the move for the end of the race? Shall we run that one back? This is what we call a production oopsie at the truck. It's been a fun day, okay? Lots of funny things have happened. Here's how it all played out for the final moves. I know I should have checked that calculation. So Ann Medma, you're right, made the move very, very early, and probably made the move early, in part because just a little bit... Was that for the checkered? I swear I went back 40 seconds.
I think that was coming to the checker right there.
That's crazy. What's going on over here? I'm losing my mind. Let's just let's hit let's hit rewind time as far as we can. It's sim racing, so you can just break the laws of, you know, time and space, and none of it's real, and no one gets sent to the hospital when you're done. So you're very right in that Ann Medma goes for it very, very early, and now we can see why. A little bit of desperation to the line. And then Renz just sort of tucks behind, gets just about enough to keep it out ahead, and keeps it out, goes for the run of the lifetime, and slots out in front of Medma to finish off the race. I'd like to do a little bit of incident review because there's quite a bit we weren't able to catch in a race so fast. Pace will be able to talk to some of our top 3 more than likely once they're locked in. It sure has been one of the broadcast days of all time. So let's see. Let me check, because those may have crashed events. Are definitely just the start finish grid going. I think it begins. Does it begin with Fraser Smith? Yeah, I think it begins with Fraser Smith here. This is how we ended up at a pole position. From pole, very, very, very far down the road. Here's how that one plays out.
Oh, I am shocked they managed to make it through there cleanly right at the start of the race. I am absolutely dumbfounded that they were able to do that. That was so tense heading down in there. We'll say about the finish of that race, even though I thought they were coming to the white instead of the checkered, I think my comment made about Ann Medma going for the move a little bit too early still holds a lot of merit. So I guess, I don't know, maybe it was Nostradamus from me. I called that before I called it, I guess.
This is why we don't mess. Now, that was Ann Medma's wild move into the grass, caught from just behind. Fraser taps the back and then disappears for a bit. And when he's returned, he's off the track and gone backwards. So that was a tight one into turn 1. He's not going to be the last we see of him, unfortunately. Mario Russ in this scramble has also gone off the track. Don't feel like pressing the replay button. Feel like doing it here. This is contact with Gronkowski. Both are going to go around. Mario Russ is going to eat the wall, though. Gronkowski's just about going to get away with it. Here's Alexander Istad, who got DQ'd due to not serving a meatball flag. Rejoin from Gronkowski's going to do it. That is a dodgy rejoin right in the way of competitors, and that's going to catch out Alexander Istad on the way, and the red mist is going to strike. Oh, there's no space to rejoin the track like that. None quite, I'm afraid. Graham Rory Hunt on lap 2 as well. Oh, ran in very, very close, and that's what's going to do it. See if we can just actually get the external view. Believe that's Dima Sirkins, if I recognize the cars all too well. Wheel-to-wheel contact sends that car down and around. Michael Billy up next. Another contact.
Ooh,
on
Jackson.
the outside. Not enough space around the outside to make that one work. Teres Kunse. That's, I think, how I'm going to say it. That's how I'm going to try. Loses it himself.
And I award him for going for the move.
I get my awards for trying on names, let me tell you that. Dima Sirkin will later be running alongside Fraser Smith, and that is iRacing glue. I have the feeling that Fraser Smith's car really wasn't meant to just do that on contact with Sirkin's car. So this is like the slow story of how Fraser Smith just dropped out of existence, but that's iRacing glue. Fraser Smith continues to have a bad day on the track. These things happen.
iRacing glue may have the highest, most prestigious dead American racehorses.
I mean, these cars race better anyway. Teres Kuntz sends it solo around. Mikey Pollard finishes P9 after this run into the roller coaster.
And pow.
Was likely to happen.
Add in the sound effect there.
Was likely to happen eventually. Here's Frederick Surley. Back on the back when we did these broadcasts on another channel, we had an incident at Snetterton where we got the lap count. How the hell
did he keep it out of the wall?
Oh,
don't worry. A couple of weeks ago, I called a race as if they had already taken the checkered flag when they were actually on the white flag. So I have done that myself, and that wasn't even a graphical error. That was just me whacking my head too much as a kid and having about 3 brain cells to do these shows.
And I think when I watched the Fraser Smith contact up the S's, I agreed with his take. I think the car in front was not really expecting to slow as it did. Here it is. And I think brake test could be a strong word, but I think he was just trying to drive it and then just slower than usual, not quite the speed. And it's a guy that's gone from unlucky to unlucky to unluckiest on the track here today. Have a few drivers to speak to. I have had I'm giving you the unenviable honor of speaking non-stop to Renz Brookman throughout the season. So I'm going to give you a break, and I was going to do this even if he didn't win. I will speak to our race winner, Renz Brookman. Renz Brookman, this time I'm talking to you. It doesn't happen often out there, but congratulations on the win.
Yeah, thanks. Was about time. First time this season I actually got a win, so it's really nice.
You've been very, very strong in championship points up to now, but you haven't quite been able to convert it up on the front. Talk us through the way that race played out. Was a very draft-heavy one.
It was a very draft-heavy one, and a little bit chaotic one if I saw what happened around me and especially behind me. Didn't actually look back on what actually happened, but yeah, I saw some cars go off, some cars hitting each other, so a bit lucky in that sense that it thinned out the front group. Which is a bit of a shame, really, but yeah, I happily take it this time.
So on the topic of the chase with Van Medmer on the final lap, I know Zan goes for a move very early, and then you counteract again. We actually thought it was not the white flag lap. For you, that was very, very much the white flag lap. So how confident were you as that straight went down and you knew it was going to be make or break?
Well, when I realized coming into the last lap that we were clear by more than a second and a half, just the two of us, I knew that if he would not fight me through the rest of the lap, he would obviously be right behind me on the straight, and yeah, I would be a sitting duck. So I actually tried to get him as close behind me as I could coming out of Oak Tree, so he would be alongside very early on the straight with a bit of a run, so I could actually jump back in his slipstream and we could go side by side into the roller coaster, which worked, so it was nice.
You were a championship leader coming into today. Now you finally extended it with a win on the books. Only really a few races to go. Which one are you looking forward to most?
Well, next week Bathurst is going to be really interesting. It's a very draft-heavy track, but the track itself, I think, is a lot of fun. Even though I've not done any laps, so I'm not sure if this car might be a little bit underpowered. But yeah, Bathurst next week will be a lot of fun. And yeah, Donington, really, the last one. That's one I actually look forward to too.
We all love a bit of Donington. Especially on the good layout this season. Before we move on to any other thank yous or shout-outs.
No, shout out to all the regular drivers here, all racing really hard and clean. You guys for doing the amazing broadcast, and the guys or people making the broadcast possible. Yeah, hats off to them and to you.
There's finally a win, and we're gonna keep seeing you to the end of the season. I'm sure of it. That's Renz Brookman.
All right, thanks, guys.
I'll leave you with our P4 finisher, Ian Joyner, who's lined up to talk.
Yeah, and Ian Joyner joining us here in the broadcast booth. Ian, welcome in. P4 at the end of a rather hectic race here at VIR. Happy to talk us through it.
Good evening. Yeah, I did the pre-SOF warm-up race as well, and it's kind of similar. It's I also did Weekend Warriors yesterday. Didn't work out so well, but it was so much more fun doing this in a sprint format. So obviously Weekend Warriors, you kind of have even sort of no choice but to fuel save, so it can be quite just a lot of time sat in draft. But yeah, being sprint race, plenty of fuel, and when it's a big pack like that, if you no choice but to keep going forwards, or you'll just get eaten up by who's behind. So it kind of just forces constant track action, which is really good as long as it doesn't go wrong. And yeah, I had an unfortunate, I think only a couple of laps from the end where I just got a little bit surprised to be alongside Anne and held a bit too much brake, which is unfortunate, but still a lot of fun though.
So, usually I would ask you about something that happened during the Weekend Warriors race and kind of ask you to kind of compare how that race went, how that race was to how this one was. But I think that was 4 shows ago for me, which was rather scary because it was only about 24 hours ago. And I can't remember a damn thing that happened during that race. But we saw some rather ideal track conditions around it here. Do you think that was part of the reason why it was so insane up at the front? The fact that everybody had a rather ideal amount of grip in terms of track conditions and everything going on?
I mean, I think the nature of the track is almost whatever the track conditions are. If you've got people who are all comfortable with the track, you're just going to have a big group, and then if they don't hit each other, that group's going to last for quite a long time. So it wasn't necessarily perfect track conditions, but it was pretty good. But it almost doesn't matter. It's just if you're within even just over a second, the straights are so long. Yeah, you can't really get away until something happens and breaks the back up. But I think we were, quite a big group for quite a long time. Which is just fun. Definitely fun. The 20 minutes absolutely flies by. It's good. It's good. Good combo. I think one of the things that's nice is it's, even though it's drafty, it's still it's not effortless to just come past people. So yeah, it definitely takes a bit of care, but it's when you're with drivers who don't want to hit people, it's loads of fun.
Yeah, I think the way I usually like to describe some of these races is concentrated action, 20 minutes of nothing but drama going on out there on the racetrack. Exciting from our perspective here in the broadcast booth, maybe a little bit terrifying from your side behind the wheel. But looking ahead to next week, Bathurst, if we saw a draft-heavy race today, I can't even imagine how it is going to be heading off into the chase there in 1 week's time.
Yeah, I think I've got some family stuff on it, so I'm not sure I'm going to make it. I'm not 100% on that, but I don't think I've run the FF at Bathurst. I don't really actually know it very well, but yeah, it might be out. But yeah, I think I've done it in MX5s maybe. But that again, just the length of some of the straights, it will be probably less good than this, I think, because again, this I think this promotes some really good racing as long as you keep it clean. I don't know. I have to reserve judgment till I see it, but I imagine it'll be like V racing or something at Bathurst.
And with the amount of Formula V broadcasts I've done over time, I'm getting some very odd flashbacks in my own regard. But Ian, thank you for joining us here in the broadcast booth, and thanks for giving us your perspective about your side of things here in this race. We'll let you give a thanks or shout outs before we let you go.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks to everyone who took part. Had a great race in the one before as well. Yeah, thanks to you guys for putting on the broadcast and everyone who makes that happen.
Yeah, and thank you as well for joining us here in the broadcast booth, Ian. Well done on the P4, and looking forward to seeing you out there on the racetrack, wherever it is in the not too far off future, man. Thank you for joining us, and well done on the clean result here today.
Thank you. See you soon.
And that right there was Ian Joyner.
And that marks the end of week 8. And we're approaching the end of the road. Next week, we start drop weeks. This season has 4 drops in total, and we don't start counting them until they're a factor. We'll be adding them one at a time. So points are all over the place, and drivers can come out of nowhere. But Renz Brookman finally claims the win he's looking for and continues to march down the road. We'll be back same time next week on the channel for Mount Panorama. Until then, I've been Howie Burrows alongside Ron Mons. Thank you very much for watching.